Hi there, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Carla, and I am your relationship doula, helping men and women bravely birth peace in the pieces of their lives. It's been a while since I've had a conversation with Carla. I've taken some time off during these unusual times to just find some inner peace myself. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I want to introduce our special guest for today's conversations with Carla. So, Letitia, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Dr. Letitia Henry. I'm here in the U.S. Virgin Islands on St. Croix, and I'm a nutritionist or preventive care specialist. So I basically work with people to help them make healthier choices, make some different lifestyle changes to help them reach their health goals.
Excellent. Now, I know you have a few platforms on social media. So, for those of you who want to follow the prevention specialist, you can find them on Facebook at the prevention specialist. And that's an S at the end of prevention specialist. And you can also find her on Instagram. And I believe it is prevention specialist VI. And I'll double check and find that. So you all can definitely find her as she shares awesome information about the Caribbean because your particular niche market or the people, the community you serve, they're Caribbean based. Is that correct?
Yes, West Indian. hmm
West Indians. And because of that, we do have different fruits and vegetables provisions that we partake of and that we do. Can you tell us? I know I've been enjoying following you guys and some of the local fruits that are in seasons. Could you tell me one that you may have had recently?
Oh, what did I have recently? Well, my favorite is the bell apple, and my mom has a vine that's been producing a few, so definitely the bell apple is one. Tamarind, that's the season is almost finishing, but tamarind is a good one. Uh, I was sharing with some young people recently that you could eat the leaves. Sometimes we don't realize that our the trees that the fruits that we can eat, the leaves are also something that you can consume. So they were surprised that they liked chewing on the leaves, that they had a nice taste. But that's one I've recently had as well.
Oh, that is awesome because yes, I know that I currently live in the United States, and I know when I have shared some of the fruits from home, from St. Croix, many people are not familiar with them. So Cameron was one of those that they weren't familiar with at all, and they can be sour, they can be sweet. And it's just great to be able to expose those people who aren't from the Caribbean to some of our wonderful fruits and vegetables that we have there. But one of
Yeah.
the things I wanted to talk to you about, because I know nutrition and health is very important and the prevention of that and educating. One of the things I always enjoy when we've had our conversations is just how you're able to share nutritional information in a way that was understandable, that just made sense to others. So I have a Vera here who says, "Hi, Dr. Henry." Um, but what I wanted you to share with our audience today, with 2020, with COVID-19, there's been extra stress. People may or may not have been doing what they should be to care for their health if they've had a chronic illness. And so I just wanted us to just talk about that. So, first of all, what are some of the chronic illnesses that you address as a registered dietitian, as a nutritionist?
So I work with people who want to prevent or already have high blood pressure, diabetes, any type of heart disease, high cholesterol, if they're overweight. Those are my key ones that I work with on a regular basis.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm sure during this time when people have had extra stress because maybe they've lost a job, they've lost a loved one, um, they so many things can be happening. They've been diagnosed with a new illness. A family member could be diagnosed with a new illness. So you mentioned hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes. All of these things can manifest even more so right now.
Yeah.
And if your family has a history of any of those diseases, it is possible that you may get it as well too. So the preventive aspect that you talked about is just awesome as well too. So my question then to you is, if I happen to have high blood pressure or want to avoid high blood pressure, I know high blood pressure runs in my family, but I don't have it yet. What are some steps I can do to prevent that?
Well, to tie in the scenario with stress, um, one of the things that we especially need to do right now is to boost our immune system as much as possible. So I've been doing a series on my social media sites, which is trying to share some of the local fruits that you can get vitamin C and other nutrients from. But if you don't have access, or let's say you don't eat a lot of fruit for whatever reason, then you need to strongly think about taking a vitamin C supplement because you need to make sure you have a strong immune system at this time. Stress weakens your immune system. And so, I mean, even before COVID and everything else that has gone on, we needed a strong immune system. So you can just imagine. But tying into the high blood pressure, we do know that increased stress makes your blood pressure go up. Or I should say, the way you react to stress can make your blood sugar go up. So, some of the things that you can do, the beautiful thing about prevention is the same things to prevent a disease is usually how you treat the disease as well. So, those who already have high blood pressure or who want to prevent it, these steps apply. So, in terms of um, one main step you want to do is find a way to move your body. We forget
Okay.
sometimes that our heart is a muscle, and muscles are designed to move. And so, if
Mm,
you don't regularly get out exercising, and with COVID, of course, that's a challenge. We know that. But there are a lot of YouTube videos, there are a lot of different things, apps that you can use. There's one I like to share with people. It's called 7 Minutes. If you go and put on your in your app, in your store, 7 minutes. It's an exercise. It's literally 7 minutes, and it goes through and gives you different exercises that you could do. And that simple 7 minutes, believe it or not, helps you with high blood pressure. It helps de-stress you. So you don't want to think that it's all about, I need an hour at a gym to be able for my body to see a difference. So exercise is one. The second thing is you do want to make sure that you are eating as many fruits and vegetables as possible. There's a meal plan they call DASH, DASH, Dietary Approach to Stop Hypertension. Look that up. Yeah,
that.
it's
Okay.
basically, yes, it's basically telling you you need almost 10 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Now, most of us don't get 10 servings, and a serving is usually what can fit in your cupped hand, right? So that's half a cup is usually a serving of fruit, a serving of cooked vegetables. Can you count that out? That'd be like two servings at breakfast, two servings at mid morning snack, two servings at lunch, two servings at afternoon snack, and two. It's a lot. I won't even try to say it's not. But I want you to be intentional in trying to get in as many servings as you can so that you can go ahead and fight this thing called high blood pressure. And then the last thing I would say for oh yes, your fruits and vegetables. So she has some fruits there in her basket. Is find a way to get good sleep. We take sleep for granted, and sometimes we go on a good diet or we start that exercise program, and we still are functioning on 4 or 5 hours worth of sleep. And your body just can't do what you're asking it to do if you don't get that sleep in. So consider those three things when you're trying to deal with high blood pressure.
I love that you did that. And yes, on her social media, she's been talking about eat local. Now, I am not in the Virgin Islands, but I have decided to um, find my farmers market and different things. So I actually have this beautiful basket that you can check out for Cruisions Bayside Creations. They have these wonderful local baskets, but I actually have my fruits in here. I got me some grapes, some apples. I have me some plums. I have my little mandarin. Now, it's not the same as in the Caribbean, but it's no excuse wherever you are to find your local fruits and vegetables.
Right.
And so
That's the idea.
yes, I'm making this my go-to instead of chips or donuts. I'm like, let me keep some fruits around so that this is what I snack on and I don't snack on something else. Now, the other thing that you mentioned that I think is just wonderful, and you talked about sleep. So often, many of us aren't getting enough sleep for what's happening. We stay up worrying, and that isn't conducive to relaxation. So I just want to say to you guys, as a stress management coach, when it comes to sleep and rest, find an app that has a nice soothing sound that you like. If it's the sound of the sea, if it's some music or whatever,
Right.
turning off your electronics in the evening time so that you can rest, so your mind can just wind down. Just like we charge our phones, sleep is basically us charging ourselves. Isn't that true, Dr. Henry?
It's so beyond true. Quite a few years ago, the University of Chicago did this really groundbreaking research, and it basically said they did two groups of people. One they let get enough sleep, and the other they didn't. And each time, the group that got enough sleep, when they were offered anything they wanted to eat the next day, they often chose the healthier options. The group that didn't get enough sleep, invariably they chose the things higher in fat, higher in salt, higher in sugars, because they found out that during the 10 o'clock at night and 2 in the morning is when a certain set of chemicals wash over your brain to
Wow.
help you make healthy food choices the next day. If you are not asleep during those hours, it's so oftentimes when people say they don't have willpower or they just can't do this, it's not because you can't. It's you haven't given your body what it needs to help you do what you want to do. And so, as much as we have with technology, a lot of the shows that we stay up to watch, you can watch them earlier in the night because you can tape them. I mean, you're not missing anything. I mean, and the games that we play, you can play them another time. I want you strongly to consider getting sleep between the hours of 10 at night and 2 in the morning.
Oh my.
Critical time for you so that you can make better choices the next day.
I love that when you talk about prime time for sleep,
Yes.
10, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. And I have a little story when you talked about how exercise is important. One of the things with COVID-19, I wasn't getting to my Y regularly for my exercise. And I realized that my tolerance for putting dealing with situations had greatly diminished. And I
Yes.
had a situation on Thursday that I was at my wit's end, and I realized because I hadn't been exercising, I didn't have that capacity to deal with that situation. And I had somebody who held me accountable to make sure I didn't eat what I shouldn't have eaten, but I went
Good.
and exercised that evening. And don't you know, I felt better since then because I made sure I went and exercised Friday. I exercised yesterday. I went and I exercised today. So exercise,
Good.
guys, when Dr. Letitia is talking to you about sleep, exercise, and the foods we eat to help manage our hypertension and stress is just wonderful. Now, another chronic illness that some of the people watching may do, and I want to say to people, she's just giving us broad information. If you want to schedule a time with her because you have specific needs, please feel free. She has a website, the prevention specialist .com, and you can actually schedule an appointment with her. And most insurances, she accepts most insurances, and you may have a copay, but it's worth the investment, investing in
Actually,
yourself.
most insurances now don't even require the copay anymore. They
Really?
finally have seen the light. And so yeah, most insurances they pay 100%. So you wouldn't even have to come out of pocket for your visit.
Okay, so you hear that. So most of your main insurances, they may not be a copay. And because of COVID, there's telehealth, guys. So
Yeah, yeah.
duh, what a way to take control of your health. And one of the other things I want to talk about health and chronic illness as a family affair, because I knew for us growing up, and for those of you who don't know, Dr. Letitia is my sister. I know for us, we knew that certain illnesses um, were in our family. So just like you may have a family tree, we have a health tree. So we knew that hypertension is in our family. We know diabetes. We know obesity is in our family. But we have found, and we found this from Letitia, and she shared, if a family goes on a journey for health together, there's a greater chance of success. Is that true?
Right. Absolutely. Because sometimes somebody might come and they want to make some changes, but whether it's the husband or the wife, um, the family who's not involved wants to still eat the same way. Now, keep in mind that your genetics, at least in your children, you and your children, or your parents, because some of you are cooking for parents, your genetics are the same. So you should be eating quite the same. Otherwise, the same disease that you're suffering from, the next generation and the next generation will have. And so, if as a family you guys decide to do this and not think that you have to make two pots, you're better off because you can stop some of this, the generational diseases. We can stop some of that. I mean, keep in mind we can't stop everything. This is just Earth, and we recognize that things are going to happen. But what I'm trying to share is that if we have the ability to make enough lifestyle changes that we can prevent or delay, even if you have diabetes running in your family or high blood pressure, and um, you think you're going to get it just because it's running in your family. Wouldn't it be nice that if you get it or when you get it, you're 99 years old instead of 30, instead of 40? I mean, the longer you have a chronic illness, the more damage is being done. So if we can delay when you get it,
Mm.
I love that idea.
Oh, I do that. Delaying when you get it. Because, right, who cares if I'm 90, 95, and
You
I
know,
get diabetes or I become obese then instead of,
I'm just saying, if it's gonna happen, at least let it happen later in life instead of now.
oh my. Because one of the things that Letitia and I have talked about before is the quality of life that we would like to see as we get older. Years ago, I was living in upstate New York, and I remember when Letitia came to visit because she was going to go to help out at a senior Olympics. Was it that you were going to help out with? And I remember thinking that many times um, we are not in a position that we can have an active lifestyle when we get older because of choices we're making when we're younger. Because it's not like all of a sudden you can do this at 70 or 80 if you're not making those steps then. So I remember when she came back and told me all the different things she said, I said, you know what? I want to have a better quality of life as I get older. So I need to start making those changes now so that I can have a better quality of life. And that's one of the things that Letitia does with her clients, so that if once you've discovered your why, you have to discover your why you want to do it. For me, it's because I don't want my children making decisions for me. So the longer I can prevent them from having to pick my clothes, do my hair, or tell me what to do is a win for me. So my why to get my health in better shape to continue is that. I don't know what your why would be, but yes. Okay, so now another chronic illness that many of you may have in your family or maybe struggling with would be diabetes as well too. So that's a common chronic illness that you see for some of your clients. So when it comes to nutrition, what's something in general that you can share with our audience about those who may have diabetes and nutrition?
So, one of the things with diabetes is oftentimes people are afraid to eat fruit. And since I've been doing this series on fruits, on local fruits, um, I I have been sharing that even though the fruits are sweet, you can still eat them if you eat the right portion, if you eat the right amount. Um, so, for example, uh, an American apple, um, typically, if it's small, okay, good. You could now put it in your hand for me so that your hand is around it. Can you cup it, Carla? Okay, I don't think I can't see your hand. There you go. So you see how it pops up a little bit, meaning that that's more of a medium-sized apple. So somebody with diabetes would need to cut that apple in half and eat half now and half later, because the idea is you want to be able to stick to only one portion at a time so that your blood sugars don't go up. The dilemma with us here sometimes in the Caribbean is when something is in season, when mangoes are in season, or when yellow plums are in season, it's hard to stop at eating just a handful. And so someone might just eat a bucketful instead. And unfortunately, yes, the doctor is going to say to you, Miss Such and Such, you can't eat mangoes because it simply means you have overdone a good thing. And so you got to know yourself. If you are not able to limit yourself to that cup handful of fruit, then you may need to not have. There you go. That's a serving, right? And so you do the same thing with grapes. You do the same thing. You want to stick to a portion size about half a cup for most fruits. Now that one is too big, so she would have to take that and cut that so that she has maybe about, depending on the size, 7 to 12 uh,
Right.
grapes in her hand, and that would be a serving. So if uh, if you if somebody asked me, well, aren't there fruits that are low in sugar? Absolutely. I mean, and so a lot of the berries are low in sugar. So your strawberries and blueberries and things like that. In the Caribbean, it's going to be your West Indian cherry, your sea grapes. Those are low in sugar. But again, those are not in season all the time. And blueberries are expensive here because they have to be shipped. And then sometimes they're not as fresh. And so you do want to still be able to eat what's here, what's local. And so try that instead. And what sometimes I find amusing is that somebody will say, well, the fruit just raises my blood sugar. But yet they will go out and have ice cream, or they'll go out and have some candy, or drink a malt, or something like that. Now that raises your sugar too, but for some reason that's okay. Whereas at least the fruit, when it raises your sugar, you still get vitamins and you still get minerals. You get stuff that helps to heal you. Whereas those other things that you ate that also raised your blood sugar, you got pleasure maybe, but you didn't get anything to help heal you. So consider that. And I'll have one more tip for you. Something that will raise your blood sugar or that you think will raise your blood sugar, try eating it close to a meal or with a few nuts or seeds. So, for example, if you know that fruits raise your blood sugar more than you like, if you have maybe 5 pieces, it's not a lot, just a few pieces of walnuts or almonds, and you eat those at the same time, the fats and protein in those nuts will help slow down how quickly your sugars go up, and that could help stabilize you there as well.
Oh, I love that. So the fats from the nuts, if they have that, oh, that combination. So guys, again, you heard a great tip to help you with that. And I like how you say that we justify many times eating other things, but like you said, they gave us no nutritional value, gave us no vitamins, no amino acid, nothing. It was just empty, wasteful calories, but yet something like a fruit, a vegetable, of fruit or nuts, because I like that. I used to think, well, oh, fruits are too expensive. And I'm like, Carla, potato chips have gone up to 3, 4, $5. You don't have a problem buying that. Get you some grapes, get you some fruit that will at least do your body good. Because you had a recent tip on your prevention specialist on Facebook. It said your foods can either be um, good medicine for you or be slow poison. And I shared that because I thought, oh my goodness, so
Yeah.
many of us say, oh, we're going to die anyway, and we justify eating poorly. And I'm like, that is such a load of baloney, a load of crap. And I just had to say, need to do better. I need to do better. I want to live healthy, be productive, have a clear mind. So, eating these things. So, again, thank you for the information and the knowledge that you've been sharing for us. So, okay, I love that when you talk about diabetes. And so, we've talked about diabetes, we talked about hypertension as well too. I know some of the work that you do, um, also, when you talk about prevention, you do a little bit with those people who may have a renal failure as well, or you may do others who with obesity. Now, let's talk about obesity. Many of us don't realize that that is an illness, that is a chronic illness. We get so accustomed to thinking being obese is normal, and we're not trying to make everybody pencil thin. That is not what we're talking about when we talk about our health and obesity. I had to come to that realization for me and make some health decisions. But what are some of the tools, or what are some of the things you tell those of us who are obese?
Mm. Well, it goes back to one of the things you said earlier, which is knowing your why. Um, and this applies to any chronic disease, not just someone who is obese. But you, when you decide why you want to make some health changes, even if um, even if your goal isn't to lose weight, let's say your goal is you just want to be able to breathe better when you go upstairs. I mean, instead of huffing and puffing, you want to be able to have energy when you come home after a full day of work and you still have the kids and the house to deal with. Um, I focus on things besides weight when I'm working with somebody with weight issues, just because sometimes that scale does what the scale does. And so, in addition to having a weight goal, I really try to get somebody to identify their why. What other things that you want to happen or to experience? Because as a scale, as many of you who've try to lose weight before, your weight might come down initially and then nothing. You plateau and you can't move, and then you get frustrated, and then you gain again, and then it's just a vicious cycle sometimes. And you get frustrated, and then 2 years pass, and then you're trying to try again, and then it's like, but I tried that. I've done shakes, I've done, every diet in the sun. I can start naming some of the diets that I have the books in my office, believe it or not, because I like to know what people are trying to do. But if what I would say to you is this, in addition to setting a weight goal, I want you to set a purpose goal. What is it besides weight that you want to happen in the next 3 to 6 months? You know, I call it non-scale goals,
I like that.
so that you can have something else you're looking at. So when that scale wants to do what it does and don't move, you have something else that you can look for. Write it down and say, I want to have more energy at the end of the day, or I don't want to lose my temper all the time. All of those things. And as you make lifestyle changes, as you do your exercising and change your diet and get your sleep and work on stress, not letting people at work drive you crazy, because now you have ways of communicating better. All of those things, when 3 months from now comes, and whether the scale is showing success or not, you can go back to your list and say, but look at this. I have more energy. I have been not as stressed. I have been dealing with my kids a little bit better. My kids don't think I'm grumpy anymore. You can actually 3 months later see some of those successes, and it will help motivate you to keep on the journey of losing your weight to get to the goal that you want to get to.
Oh, I love that because many times for those of us who are struggling with our weight, we when we don't see the scale change, we just like, oh, whatever, and we do give up. But I have, since you've told me about that, set my own non-scale goal. And so one of my new non-scale goals, because we have these masks with COVID, is to be able not to be huffing and puffing.
Mm.
Because with the mask on, I realized just how out of shape I am. That yes, it shouldn't cause me that much of a labored breathing because that's over my face. And I realize it's just like, right, I am really need to increase my lung capacity and do
Mm-hmm.
so I have been setting some non-scale goals as well. So even if the scale isn't moving, I am saying yes. But the other thing too, I just told myself too, you just need to lose 1 pound. So for me, in my mind, sometimes it was just so overwhelming to think, oh, I got to lose 40 odd pounds, or whatever that number is. And I just said, Carla, it's just 1 pound, just 1 pound. So focus on the little bit goals, because that's something that you've told me too, to make them reasonable little goals instead of the big goals. So
And
celebrating those little goals.
I'll give you a little rule of thumb. Um, so that is one of the things. A lot of times you have this hundred. I want to lose 100 pounds, or I want to lose 50 pounds, and it's always in a time frame that may not be reasonable. But one of the things that they have found out is that people who lose even 10% of their initial weight, they reduce their risk for diabetes, for heart disease, for pressure. I mean, the works. A
Wow.
lot of the reasons that we focus on making sure somebody has lost some weight is to help with some of these other chronic illnesses, because sometimes they kind of coexist, and one can make the other worse. So if I'm 200 pounds, 10% of that is 20 pounds. And so even though your goal might be to get down to 150 or something like that, um, If you lost and got to 180 pounds and kept that 20 pounds off, you have reduced your risk for diabetes,
Mm,
for some of these other chronic diseases. So sometimes people lose that 20 pounds, they don't lose anymore, and then they get frustrated and they go back to their old habits, and
mm,
then they regain the 20 pounds plus more.
mm.
If you can recognize that that 20 pounds that you lost, that 10% is actually enough weight to really change your health and your life, if you kept that 20 pounds off, that 10% off, let me tell you, your doctors will love you, your body will love you, you will function so much better. So keep in mind, you can have your own personal goal, but 10%. And for some studies are even saying less than that. Some studies are saying 5 to 7% is enough to reduce your risk for diabetes. So don't get overwhelmed, small increments, and your goal is to get whatever amount you got off and keep it off.
Okay.
That's your goal.
Okay. I love that because that seems so doable and no one really tells somebody that. So you say just 10%, guys, just 10%. 10% and keep that 10% off is just huge. So thank you for that because you may have diabetes that runs in your family. I still remember as a young girl seeing my maternal grandmother. She was a diabetic and she had to give herself insulin. I remember one time I had to help her. She got older, and I remember thinking, I don't want that for me. And so therefore being mindful of trying to take steps to prevent diabetes from happening to me, because I know that if I have hypertension and obesity, those are precursors for possibly diabetes. So being proactive in those things and getting as much information as possible. So, oh my goodness, thank you for that tip. I just love it. The different tips that you're sharing. Okay, so we've talked about those. Is there any other particular
Yes,
disease?
let's do high cholesterol, heart disease.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
And the reason I think of that one is right now you'd asked me earlier what fruits are have I tried, and I went to a farmer's market a couple of weeks ago and did a little video on my social media showing what they had, and they had avocados. And so I've recently enjoyed having some avocados because they ripened nicely. And so with heart disease or high cholesterol, so many people have questions about oils and fats. But one of the things that's local that helps to lower your high cholesterol levels are avocados. And what you have to remember is avocados are high in fat, without a doubt. One of the things, unfortunately, sometimes when they're in season, is we cut half of that avocado, we put it on our plate, and then we might eat even the whole thing. And just like with any fruit, you do need to be careful with your portion. But but avocados are excellent in helping to lower your cholesterol level. So they found out that avocados have the same monounsaturated fats that are in olives. Olives don't grow in the Caribbean. And so even though we can buy olive oil in the store, great. But when avocados are in season, it makes sense that we use them, and we use them regularly to help us make sure that we get the monounsaturated fat that will lower your cholesterol. But just so that you know, a medium sized avocado, if you cut it in about 6 equal pieces, one slice, 1/6 of a medium avocado is a serving. And I know that's offensive to some of you because who wants to eat just that little bit? But if you are trying to lose weight, consider cutting back how much of it you eat, because just because it's good doesn't mean you overeat it. If you are trying to gain weight, go on and eat the whole thing.
Again, it goes back to your why. If your why is to gain weight, your rules are different application. If it is to just watch your cholesterol and to help with that, then
Yes.
it's eating just a serving, which is 1/6 of one of those nice sized avocados that grow in the Virgin Islands. It's not like what we
Right.
get
Not
here.
the Haas ones.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, I
But
know.
some of the other things, in the Caribbean, we some of our foods that are cultural to us. Sometimes I think we forget, but greens, or some people call it cook up or chop chop. So the spinach and okra mix sometimes was something that you ate for breakfast. And a lot of people don't think of eating vegetables for breakfast, but for us here, it was a no brainer back in the day. It's a little bit not as much now, but if we go back a bit to our roots, having vegetables or eating something like that at breakfast was normal.
Yeah.
Um, but it turns out that greens and vegetables are excellent in bringing down your cholesterol as well. The
Mhm.
other cultural foods that we take for granted are beans and peas. So pigeon peas, your red beans, lentils. Again, those are things that we use, but we don't think of them as the powerhouse um, in terms of nutrition. But I'm telling you, they did a study some time ago where they looked at people who were meat eaters and people who were vegetarians. And it turns out that the people who were vegetarians, who ate a lot of vegetables and not a lot of processed foods, were more likely to have lower cholesterol and lower heart disease than the people who were eating meat. And when I say meat, I don't just mean red meat. I mean chicken, I mean um, turkey, all of those types of things I'm putting in the same category as meat.
Okay.
Um, so a few years later, they ran another study. And this one said, we're taking meat eaters who are not wanting to give up their meat and have them have a half a cup, which is that same cup hand, half a cup worth of beans, any type of beans, right? 4 times a week. They gave them beans 4 times a week. And those people who were eating beans 4 times a week, who were still eating their meat, their cholesterol levels, their heart disease rates dropped to that like a vegetarian.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
some of you are not ready to go vegetarian and to give up your meat until you're ready, because I still want you to consider doing that. But until you're ready, I need you to eat at least half a cup, a pot spoon worth of any kind of beans or peas at least 4 times a week. If you can do it more often, do it more often. But that is one tip that and this is not even just for those who have high cholesterol issues. This is anybody who wants to live a healthier life and are still, you want to make sure beans or peas are a staple. And culturally, that's what we eat. So it's not a foreign thing to us. But sometimes we just take the gravy or we and the sauce and we leave the beans in the pot. So I want you to make sure that you don't do that. You actually get those in your body on a regular basis.
I love that for the beans because I remember as a child, briefly, we lived about 3 years or so in Puerto Rico. So we had lots of beans there. And I remember as a child, though, in St. Croix, we had pigeon pea trees or bush in our yard, and we would have to sit there and shell pigeon peas.
Yes.
So, and I would see my grandmother eat them raw, and I would stick some in my mouth just like that too. And so, and Donna Anderson is asking, does that include lentils when you talk about
Yes.
beans?
Yes.
Okay.
Lentils, split peas, garbanzo beans, you name it. Any of those fall in the same category of having that wonderful impact.
Now, Dawn is asking, does it matter how the beans and peas are prepared?
So in the Virgin Islands, we have WAPA. Well, I shouldn't call their name. We have electrical issues sometimes. We have hurricanes. We have, right? And so canned goods are just part of what we have to do to stay prepared. So if you must use canned beans or peas, then I do want you to try to rinse them. Don't just use the liquid and everything. Make sure you rinse them. Those of you with high blood pressure, you might want to even soak them in a little hot water for a few minutes just to draw out some of the salt. But in terms of ideally, you do want to prepare them from scratch where you control how much salt, you get to control what seasonings you put in there, what fat you put in there. Um, the only thing I would say, beans and peas can be very gassy for some people, and so soaking them overnight in the refrigerator, that is one way to help take off some of the gassiness. So once you soak them overnight, throw off that water, and then you can boil them. Some of them, of course, like the lentils, cook so much quicker than the others, but definitely I guess the biggest thing I would say in terms of preparing them is just watch how much salt you put in, and then some of you like to add in the um, salt pork and
The
some of
turkey,
the
the
process,
turkey
yeah, the
fat and all
process,
that.
yeah. Just be careful because the idea is that this is to counter the meat you're already eating. So if you add more meat to your beans, it kind of defeats the purpose. So try to use more plant-based seasonings, your sofrito or something like that, um, and your fresh herbs and spices instead when you're preparing it.
That's good. And Kia says that she soaks hers overnight in a few cloves of garlic to help release the gases.
Okay.
So, you may have different ways to do it because, right, many people say trying to eat healthy is expensive, but then when you look at how much a bag of beans costs, that's not true. And it stretches. So you have your garbanzo of beans. Here in the South, they have their black eyed peas. I tried a new one at their market that I hadn't seen before. It was called a whole something. I forget what the name of it, but I tried it. It was actually delicious. Preparing it in a nice little, boil it, add a little seasonings and things like that. So, guys,
And
um,
you make an excellent point in terms of the trying it. One of the things that happens is we get into a mindset that we don't like something. And one of the questions I always ask is, when last have you tried it?
mm,
Because we've just decided we don't like it. But you may have tried it when you were a child. Now you're an
mhm,
adult with adult taste. You don't know if you're going to like it or not.
mhm.
So try something new. Go to the grocery store. I'll tell on myself, I did not eat vegetables. And even as I was in school to study to become a dietitian, I did not eat vegetables. It took years and encouragement. I had a roommate who was a vegetarian, believe it or not, and had me trying different things. And at first, I would politely say, no, thank you. Because I knew I didn't like it, even though I'd never had it before. And one time she gave me something to try, and I wanted her to just give me a small amount, and she poured me a whole big, ugh, and it wasn't bad. And I finally had to say, okay, if it wasn't bad, maybe I kind of have been making this a bigger deal than it is. And
Mhm.
I purposefully would go to the store, buy a vegetable I hadn't tried or I hadn't tried since I was a child. I would prepare it, and then if I didn't like it, I'd buy it again and prepare it a different way or try it raw until I found ways for me to incorporate more and more vegetables into my diet to the point now that I actually eat vegetables. And and
And
like them, believe it or
and
not.
and when she comes to a family function, because our family didn't grow up on vegetables, she's like, I'll bring the vegetables because most likely they may just have starches, meat and the starch, or just give them meat alone. And we've seen family members' plates, and that's all that's on their plate is meat, nothing else, no veggies. So
I didn't say that. She said that.
I
Yeah,
say
I
that.
don't talk about families and plates, and I won't talk about your plates either.
So I have no scruples talking about my family knows I'm going to tell on us because we are doing this. But I like when they talking about, trying new things, because so many times we have a mindset that, oh, we don't like something. And when I hear somebody tell me that, I said, you know what? Do you drink alcohol? And it's like, well, yes. I'm like, well, that's some of the nastiest thing. And you could tell me that you drink that and you won't try asparagus, or you won't try artichoke because that tastes bad. So it has nothing to do with taste, because many of us drink or have habits that we do that's nasty stuff. You
Well,
smoke.
it's what we call an acquired taste, and that's the term I
Okay.
use now. Because when you drink your alcohol, you may initially thought it wasn't good, but over time that tastes good. I mean, because you just acquired a taste for it. And so I have tried fruits. The cocoa plum. I did not like cocoa plum for a while. And every now and then I would pick one when it's in season and try it until right this is the second year actually. Second year that when cocoa plum got in season, I actually tried it and liked it. Before that, I thought it was nasty. So I'm just saying your taste buds change. That's why going back to those who need to cut salt from their diet, when you first cut salt from your diet, everything tastes nasty. It doesn't taste right because salt is so a part of what your taste buds. Salt is so a part of what you were used to. But I'm telling you, if you put away the salt, give yourself maybe a month and a half without salt in your diet, and you then go back to eating salt, that is going to taste so bad to you because you're not used to it again. Your taste buds change. So I want you to keep an open mind as you try new things. You have to remember, I like to give the story, when you were kids, your parents made you go to school even though you didn't feel like going to school. So even though you don't feel like eating vegetables or feel like eating fruit or feel like exercising or feel like going to bed on time, it's not about the feeling. It's about you doing what your body needs. And because your body needs you to do these things to help you to stay healthy enough to accomplish all your other goals in life, you can't rely on how you feel to decide what you're going to do. You just got to do it anyway. They made you go to school anyway. It didn't kill you. This will actually help. So I want you to just keep an open mind. Know your taste buds change. As you work out, your body's going to be sore. That's going to eventually go away too. As you get to bed earlier, all of the things. It'll take time. You'll not be miraculously better the next day and things won't be amazing. But give yourself that time and it's going to be amazing.
I love that. And I thank you for checking me. But Vera mentioned that the cocoa plum seed is delicious as well. And I have tasted that. That is pretty good, isn't it?
Well, right. When you crack the seed,
Yeah.
inside is a nut, and it is. I've been told. I tried it a couple of times. That's an acquired taste as well, so I can't say I like that yet. But yes.
Oh, and so one of our listeners, Karma, says her favorite restaurant doesn't taste the same after 6 months on COVID restrictions. So I guess her taste buds, right? It
They
changed.
do. They really do.
Okay.
So, especially again, when you are used to highly seasoned foods and then you go to a bland diet, it doesn't taste right. But then afterwards, if you go back to the highly seasoned foods, that won't taste right. So give yourself
Mhm.
some time.
And I liked how you checked me to say when I was going on my tantrum about people who may do other bad behavior or eat things about acquired taste. So that is good. And it's not about what we feel like, it's like, what does your body need? So let's be proactive. And, this thing, oh, I got to feel good. So I got to eat it. Is this all right? Those things that are bad for you feel good or taste good. So it's not about that. It is about finding your why, acquiring a new taste for it, and saying, this is what is good for me. This is what is good for my body. As we did for children coming up. Well, we used to make them eat their vegetables. Now we don't, and we're going to pay for it in the long run.
Well, it's no coincidence that the kids are getting diabetes and high blood pressure younger and younger. So when
Mhm.
it was our day, my grandparents, they got these things when they were 60 and above. Then your parents got it when they were 50 and above. Our age group is getting it at 40 and above. The generation, I mean, this thing has really affected us. And it's not coincidence that our lifestyles becoming more sedentary. We
Mhm.
even in schools now, I mean, just getting PE. Can you believe there's an argument about whether it's important for them to do PE? I mean, it's just
Wow.
incredible. But all of
Mhm.
these things so that the kids, they won't be 40, 50 years old and coming down with these chronic diseases. They're going to be in their teens.
Wow.
Um, and that's a shame. But
Yeah.
there's still, the beautiful thing is there's still a way to turn it around. Our bodies are resilient. I mean, oh my goodness, the miracles of this thing that we have as a body that it can do,
Oh.
beautiful. So it just needs a fighting chance if you were to give it a chance.
Okay, well, we've had a wonderful discussion, so we're going to be wrapping it down in a minute. And one of the things, too, for uh, how, because I'm a stress management coach, I've been
Oh yes.
partnering with the prevention specialist for Dr. Henry's clients and offering them a wonderful coaching package. Because one of the things that I've recently become certified in is the Maxwell method of DISC that talks about your personality indicators and helps you to understand why you do certain things the way you do. And I actually let my family members and Letitia take it, and we had such aha moments in our relationships to help us understand the why. And so she says, oh my goodness, my clients need this. And I said, hey, let's do this, because if they're able to get some additional information on why they do certain things, and give them tools on how they can manage their stress level, so how it impacts their diabetes and their other chronic illnesses, we're just excited about that. So we're just excited. We're just excited
So
because
Carla has been nice enough to give a discount for those of you who are my clients. So definitely, I'm sure she's going to have something posted that we'll be able to, and I'll make sure I put something on my site as well, so that those of you who are current clients or become future clients will be able to get this discount on the service. But it is an amazing way, because sometimes when you are trying to communicate with a family member or coworker and you don't understand why you guys can't get on the same page, this tool, this assessment helps you understand how you think and how you communicate, and then it helps give you insight on how you can communicate with other people, and unbelievably successful, I think, in helping you to manage your relationships with those in your home and those at the work site.
I definitely will be doing that, posting that poster in the comment section, or
Okay.
I think I should be able to upload it there so that you can have it. And so there's a question here: any advice for encouraging family members with chronic illnesses to live healthier. As a dietitian, do you also work to motivate unmotivated clients?
So, advice for family members is it has to be a family affair. You guys, I would encourage you to do it together. So, I have families coming in to see me. So it's not just you coming in, bring everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
that years ago, I actually did a family party. I went to a family house and they brought all their family members together and we had a nice session in just encouraging the family to make a change. So I would just say keep it a family affair. And so if you're going to work with me, come in together so that we can make it all the family members be a part. And in terms of unmotivated clients, the beautiful thing is when you come in, I start where you are. So if you aren't ready to do exercise, you're not ready to eat fruit, you're not whatever it is, it's okay. We just work with what are you ready to do?
Yeah.
And that might be that you're willing to have less rice on your plate. So we start with that and then
Mm-hmm.
we just build off of it. And so as you see success with what you are able to do, it helps to continue to motivate you to move along the spectrum to get even healthier. But absolutely, wherever you are, I'm available to make sure we help you get to where you want to go.
I love that. It's like you're just going to meet them where they are. If the mere fact that they made the phone call and showed up is a
Yes,
step that you celebrate. And so
yes,
often we forget that the little big steps are important. And it's the little bitty decisions that we make that will get us to our end goal. And so it's, as you said before, it's not like, genie out of a bottle that you can rub something and all of a sudden something magically appears and that or illness magically disappears. It requires us, but having someone who will be alongside you is important so they don't have to do it alone. Information is key, guys. And I kid you not, when Dr. Letitia breaks down a point, I still think of a point when she made years ago. I was sitting in on one of her lectures and she was talking about fiber and she made an analogy that fiber is like a broom to your digestive system and that's what oatmeal is. And I'm just like, oh, wait a minute, oh my, sweeping my colon. I'm like, fiber? I remembered what fiber was and I remembered what fiber will do. Oatmeal, different things like that. Constipation is a major thing for people, but I'm like, fiber. She says this is the broom. And she must have said that 6, 8 years ago. I don't know when it was I heard her present, but I've heard her over the years share knowledge and I'm like, I can remember that. That makes sense to me. So I wanted to just share her with my audience, and I know she's sharing it on her page as well too. So those of you who aren't following Letitia on the Prevention Specialist, you can find her on Facebook, the Prevention Specialist. She's also on Instagram. You can find her there. For those of you who are on her Facebook page, you can follow me at Stress Management and Relationship Coach and Coach Carla Henry on Instagram. So I'm excited to see what it is. You have one more question here. Kia is saying, it is so true. I can attest to um, Dr. Henry working in that way. She started me with an attainable goal that encouraged me to work on a bigger goal. Thanks, Dr. Henry.
oh,
So
you're welcome, Kia.
a shout out from one of those. So anyway, we're going to be winding down, and I'll
Yeah,
definitely make sure I put that poster, that flyer on
please.
the prevention specialist side for those of you who are going to be doing with her. For those of you who want to learn about the Maxwell method of DISC, you can go to my website, relationshipdoula.net, and you can sign up so you can take your test, just $49. If you want to do a debriefing with me, I think it's like 197. And then for Letitia's audience, you're going to have a coaching package that we're offering for that population. But I'm excited to just help people reach their goals. As I'm doing the same thing that you're doing, I'm doing those same steps and holding myself accountable with my own support system as well too, so I can have a better quality of life as I mature and reduce the necessity for other people to tell me what to do, meaning my children or others. So thank you once again. But any parting words before we let them go, Letitia?
Mm, I would just say there's a saying I've said for years: prevention is the best medicine, and I firmly believe that as much as we can't control a lot in this life, the what we can do if we focus on prevention, it goes a long way in helping to turn things around for us and to put us in a better place. So I encourage you, if you are wanting some assistance with that, feel free to check me out at thepreventionspecialist.com or follow me on the social media. And then definitely check out Carla's package, that disc, Maxwell disc program. Amazing. When I took it, I learned a lot about myself. And it's definitely helped me to work with others a lot better. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see us again.
All right, guys. So we're going to be winding down, but I want to let you know Conversations with Carla will be on next week. And I have a young woman, Miss Davis, and she is a mom. She's an educator. So for those of you who are dealing with teaching your children at home, different scenarios that you're having, feeling overwhelmed, or just want to listen in to hear how another mom who's an educator as well to navigate COVID-19, even if you're virtually um, schooling your children or if they're in classroom. So I'm looking forward to having her with me next week. So please tune in and thank you. But my name is Carla. I'm your relationship doula, helping women bravely birth peace in the pieces of their lives. You guys have a great day.